Every single day, without fail, right as the clock struck 5 p.m., it would begin the sound that made even the toughest souls freeze for a moment. It always started the same way, quiet at first, almost like a low groan rolling out from the back of the building. But this wasn't just a groan of pain. No, it carried something deeper, something more haunting. It sounded like grief, like something in the world had broken inside that dog and it was trying to claw its way out. Within seconds, the sound would grow louder, higher, sharper, echoing like broken glass across the cold, empty hallways of the rehabilitation center. The howl climbed in waves, and when it reached its peak, it was impossible to ignore. Staff members instinctively closed their office doors. Nurses stopped pushing carts. Even the most confident new trainees, in the middle of their rounds, would halt mid-step, caught in the grip of that aching cry. Everyone knew what it meant. Bruno was howling again. Bruno, once a proud, powerful German shepherd in the canine police unit, was now confined behind reinforced steel bars in a dim corner of the facility. Once admired for his strength and obedience, he now stood as a shadow of what he used to be. He was no longer a symbol of bravery, but of something broken. His large frame would shake violently. His muscles tensed. His lips curled back to reveal his sharp teeth. Foam built at the edges of his mouth, and his deep growls turned into furious barking. He lunged at the bars again and again, snarling like something wild. And then, just like every day, as if on cue, the storm inside him would hit fierce and unstoppable. They called him a mad dog. Some said he was dangerous. Others whispered he was cursed, but none of them truly understood. From the moment he was brought in, Bruno had acted like this. He refused to eat. He snapped at anyone who tried to get near. He turned away from affection like it was poison. His eyes burned with fear more than rage. And behind every growl, every snarl, there was something else, something that no one could explain. Experienced trainers had tried their best. Officers who'd worked with aggressive dogs before had come and gone, their confidence shaken. Even animal behaviorists and psychologists studied him, hoping for a breakthrough. But Bruno remained unreachable. It wasn't just that he was untrainable. He seemed lost, buried under layers of pain no one could peel away. Yet, hidden deep in those golden eyes of his, past the fury and fear, there was something small and flickering. A piece of him that hadn't given up yet. They tried every trick in the book. They played soft music to calm him. They used familiar scents and sounds from his old unit. Officers wore the uniforms he used to respond to. But nothing made a difference, and every day at exactly 5 p.m., Bruno fell apart all over again. Like clockwork. As if haunted by a ghost only he could see, a moment in time that replayed inside him no matter what anyone did, until one quiet afternoon, something changed. Down the hall came the soft tap-tap of a cane on the tile floor. The sound was gentle, steady, and unlike anything else in that place. The girl holding it moved slowly but surely, guided not by sight, but by memory and instinct. Her name was Lily. She was blind, just 10 years old. And this was her very first time stepping into a place like this. And at exactly 5 p.m., when Bruno's familiar chaos began to rise, she walked closer to his cage, closer than anyone had dared in weeks, and leaned in. She whispered something soft into his ear, a sentence so quiet no one else could hear. What happened next stopped every heart in the room. They said he was beyond saving, that he was too wild to trust, too broken to fix. But Ethan didn't believe. That he never had. He saw what others couldn't see. He saw potential where there was only fear. And over time, little by little, the wild dog they once called dangerous began to change. At first, it was just in small ways. Bruno stopped growling when Ethan came near. He started to eat from his hand. Then he let Ethan put a leash on him without. Pulling away, slowly the barking turned to alert silence. The fear in his eyes turned to focus. Day by day, Ethan worked with him not through force or shouting, but with steady words, quiet moments, and calm encouragement. And Bruno, who once flinched at every sound and shadow, began to trust. He learned to sit on command, to track scents, to follow Ethan's voice even in complete darkness. His training became a bond. He wasn't just a dog anymore, he was a partner. Loyal and fearless, Ethan could take him anywhere. Into dangerous alleyways, collapsed buildings, thick forests. He could rely on Bruno completely. They became a team, two halves of one heartbeat. For nearly 4 years, they worked side by side. They found missing children, stopped dangerous criminals, searched through wreckage and rubble. Wherever there was fear, they brought safety. Wherever there was danger, they stood together. But home was different. At home, Bruno wasn't a canine hero. He wasn't fierce or alert or on edge. He was just the big, soft dog on the couch, always lying close to Lily, letting her rest her head on his warm chest as her father read bedtime stories. To her, he wasn't a trained officer, he was her comfort, her quiet guardian, the one who made her feel safe when the lights went out and the world felt big. She remembered everything about him. How his fur smelled faintly like the sun. How he'd nudge her hand gently when she felt sad. How, no matter what kind of day she had, Bruno was always there, calm and still, resting one giant paw across her legs like a hug, as if to say, "I'm here, you're okay." And now, standing in front of his kennel, years later, Lily could hardly breathe. He was still big but thinner, his fur duller, eyes darker. He looked tired, alone, shaking, but she didn't just see the brokenness. She saw the dog who used to guard her at night, who once made her feel like nothing could hurt her. She saw the same soul her father had trusted. She saw her Bruno. In that moment, her mind returned to something Ethan once told her. Words she'd carried like a lantern through the darkest days of grief. Bruno wasn't born brave, he'd said. He learned to be. Just like you. And now those words echoed louder than ever. Grief doesn't knock before it comes in. It doesn't wait. It just barges in and takes the place where love used to live. Lily remembered the morning her father didn't come home. No sirens, no explanation, just silence. The kind of silence that says everything. She knew something was wrong the moment she woke up. She could feel it in the stillness of the house, in her mother's trembling arms, in the way no one said his name. She didn't need to ask. She just knew. He had died doing what he always did, trying to help. A child was trapped in a crumbling building, the rain falling hard. Bruno had been with him, of course. But only Bruno came back, soaking wet, covered in dust. Alone. Lily didn't speak after that, not to anyone. She went back to her room and shut the door, just like she used to. Like when she was little and scared. Only this time, the world didn't feel confusing, it felt broken. Empty. The couch where Bruno used to lie stayed empty. Her father's jacket still hung on the chair by the front door. There were no more silly voices or bedtime stories. Just echoes, just shadows. At night, Lily would lie awake, reaching through the dark for memories. She'd repeat her father's words in her head until they blurred. "You're not broken, baby. You're strong in ways they'll never understand." But even that voice faded over time, like fog lifting in the morning sun, and yet something stayed, something quiet but strong. It lived in the space between heartbeats. It lived in the memory of a dog's paw resting across her lap. It lived in the stories Ethan used to tell her, especially the one about a wild dog who was afraid of everything and who still became a hero. One evening, sitting on her bed, her fingers found the edge of an old photo frame. Inside it was a picture of her father and Bruno. Her father was smiling, really smiling, and Bruno looked proud beside him. She ran her fingers over the shape of his ears, the curve of Ethan's jaw. And for the first time in months, she whispered, "Where are you, Bruno?" At the rehabilitation center, staff whispered about the dog who couldn't be helped. Bruno had been there almost a year. No one could get close, not even the ones who used to train him. He refused food, attacked his handlers. And like a ritual, every day at exactly 5 p.m., he would throw himself at the bars of his cage, howling, growling, as if haunted by something no one else could hear. They called it Bruno's hour. Most stayed far away. But then came that evening, the one that changed everything. A woman's voice entered first, calm and careful, guiding a small girl with a tapping cane. The girl moved slowly, wearing a pale blue coat, holding something close to her chest, a photograph. The staff recognized her face from the file. It was Lily, and as she entered the hallway, just before the chaos began, she lifted her head and whispered, "I remember him. He won't hurt me." And when the clock struck 5, and Bruno howled like he always did, she didn't run. She didn't cry. She stepped forward, slowly, bravely, and pressed her cheek to the cold bars and whispered, "Calm down, it will pass." Ethan always said that, Dot, and just like that, the howling stopped. The trembling paused. Bruno stared. And something inside, both of them began to breathe again.